Well, it's a big weekend, obviously, with two highly ranked teams and very well-coached teams coming in here. And what they just did to Wake Forest was interesting, to say the least. We're coming off a very good road swing where the second game played probably our worst outing of the year defensively. But I think that had a lot to do with the officiating for both teams. And that's what's happened in college basketball. That's why the scoring is up the same way it was up in the NBA. Players have to get used to the offensive player banging into you to create fouls, and they've got to get used to drawing offensive fouls and holding your plane. And the NBA had to get used to it, and now the college has to get used to it. And that's why scoring is up, because more free throws are being shot.
Do you like the way it's being called?
I just think they have to, and officials have to get a feel for it, that if you're in a plane like this, even though your arms are bent a little forward, and the offensive guy smashes into you, they've got to recognize the right of the defensive player to have their plane. Outside of that, I'm fine with it because it was fair. It was both teams getting the same type of call.
How about the consistency of the officiating this year? Has it been better?
It's been okay. You know, it's if you watch the Wake Forest-Virginia game, there's a lot of plays that the referees anticipated the foul, and you watch it, nobody touched anybody. So that's something they've got to get, as well as the players have to get used to it, the officials have to get used to it. It takes some time, but it was the same exact way in the NBA. I remember as if it's yesterday, the same discussions that have gone on.
Coach, I'm a layperson, so I don't know, but at some point I'm thinking during the Virginia Tech game when they were kind of getting these shots underneath if they're not going to the line, and I'm thinking, well, go to a 2-3 or a 3-2 zone. At some point you went to a man-to-man, and I'm just curious as to how you made that choice.
Well, there was about 41 defensive mistakes in that game. That's unheard of. 41. We usually like to keep it under 15 per game. We had 41 mistakes. And a lot of it had to do with how we play the pick and roll, even out of the zone. And where you can play it 5 different ways. You can switch it, you can down it, you can blitz it, you can what we call string it, sit back in the lane, try to get over and string it into each other. So there's a number of different ways you can do it. In that game, from a scouting standpoint, our players were totally tuned out to what we were trying to do with the pick and roll. Mach made 2 key mistakes where he gave up a layup. Honest gave 2 mistakes by rotating up. It was just a matter of, it was the first time this year where the total focus was lost on the scouting report of what we were trying to do. And we were out of position, out of place, and we paid for it with about 5 uncontested layups in that game.
You've talked a little about your defense and that it isn't maybe where you want it to be. What are some of the things?
Well,
or can they?
First of all, we're adjusting to the officiating, as all teams are. Buzz is an outstanding defensive coach. I'm sure he didn't like his defense in that game as well. He probably had to. And the other night, I think it was Buzz, from reading their notes, that he tweeted out, "Great defense, guys. They won a game like they scored 94 points against an ACC opponent." But that's pretty much what every coach is going through right now in terms of defensive mistakes, because guys are afraid of foul, because any contact at all is a foul. So that's one thing. But when teams play fast, like Virginia Tech or Carolina or teams like that, it's very difficult. It even compounds the problem, because in transition you can't close off the lanes as well as you can in the half court. So we got to adjust to that as well, and we don't have the athleticism and the speed in the backcourt that we once had, and that's a factor. So a lot of things go into it: inexperience, youth.
Has Virginia changed the way they play defense at all?
Sometimes they don't. They actually went 7 possessions of zone, which you've never seen from a Tony Bennett team.
What do you?
Well, because they usually blitz the pick and roll very aggressively, like a trap, and they were probably getting the foul calls because you can't do that anymore. So he probably did this smart thing and just changed up a little bit. He's one of the bright coaches in our game.
How much have they changed, offensively? Last year, they kind of held the ball until the end of the shot clock. Are they still doing the same thing, or are they playing a little faster?
No, they're playing a little faster. They've got a terrific offensive basketball team. They can score in bunches. They're a great perimeter shooting team. Gill on the inside is lethal, very difficult to stop.
Which, how was Jalen after the other night? It looked worse than obviously what it was at the time.
Yeah, it was the most bizarre thing because when we went out, Ralph and I got sick to our stomach because we thought his wrist was in S shape. He was holding like this, and Fred puts a towel over his wrist so we don't look at it. Then he said he's okay to go back in. I said his wrist was hanging. I said, no, it's his elbow. So he had a lot of swelling yesterday. We're a little banged up right now. Nanu and Jalen did not practice yesterday. I think Nanu will be fine. I'm not sure about Jalen.
When you look at the league standings, you sort of take stock of where you are right now, sitting in second place, and
I wouldn't put too much into that.
the tough schedule ahead.
Yes, I wouldn't put too much into it because right now we've got to play Virginia twice, Duke twice, Carolina. We've got to play at Pittsburgh, at Miami.
How tough is
Sounds nauseating.
How tough will this little stretch be? You get Virginia tomorrow, a day, and then North Carolina.
I'll let you know on Tuesday.
Are you curious to see how your team will handle that?
I think we've handled everything much better than I ever anticipated going into the season with such an inexperienced team, so I've got no complaints.
Virginia's, I think, the best in the conference, the best defensive rebounding team. Is it just their positioning on the floor and how they play?
They play 5 versus 3 almost every possession, so their thing is choke down the paint, don't give anything inside. If you hit a jump shot, it's got to be with somebody running and challenging at you. So they do a great job of blocking out. They do a great job of getting 5 guys in the lane.
What was it like? I didn't see even the highlights. Watching them score, I think it was 9 points in 15 seconds or something, 18 in the last minute.
It was fine with me. I'm sure it wasn't fine with Danny Manning.
And that was even a little bit more than the miracle on Maine and you guys.
Yeah, it was. Now, the last shot was, instinctively, 2 guys always run after the ball. And we try to tell guys, don't do that. And I told me the other night in the Georgia Tech game not to try and block the shot, hold your ground up 4, and do not leave your feet, make like a statue was my words. Both guys went up and tried to block the shot. So instinctively, guys do defensive things incorrectly. And although that guy rotated very well and challenged the shot, he made a lucky shot, and sometimes it's unfortunate.
Do you like the depth of your team as far as it seems like, maybe if somebody's having an off night, there's always enough guys that can step up and get the job done?
I guess, yes, I do. I don't know who's going to play well on this team. We are a work in progress. We just learn every day. We're learning something new about our players, what they could do, what they can't do. The one thing we don't do is we don't jump to conclusions after a good game like Anas has, or a bad game that Jalen may have. We just we're just trying to get this team where they need to be at the end of the year. They're very inexperienced, very young basketball-wise in terms of what we try to do defensively. So they're very eager to learn, very willing to pay the price. We're super excited to be 17-3 at this point.
You talked several times in the last couple of weeks about Motts and when he comes in. And 9 minutes the other day, how did you...
He's a very good offensive player. Motts and Anas are going to be great juniors and seniors. They're going to have outstanding junior, senior years. It's really what our program's been built on, player development and reaching the zenith in the junior, senior year. So both players are going to be out. Now, Motts screwed up in defensively and not doing the right things because he's not used to playing. That being said, it's good experience for him to screw up there because he learned some valuable lessons in victory rather than a loss. And I think our guys take a lot of pride in what they do, and they're very upset at themselves with the way they play defense in that game.
Coach, Dangadell was a DNP the other day and seems a little insecure on the court, given that he got behind. Do you see him possibly contributing some along the way this year?
I think so. I think the injury set him back. He was playing great ball this summer, and it's not him as much right now as it is Damian Lay's good play. It's if we didn't have Damian Lee, he'd obviously see a lot of minutes, but we have Damian Lee, and you don't like to take out your best offense and best defensive player, your best steal guy and then your best offensive player. He's well conditioned that he can play a lot of minutes. So when you're playing this type of schedule, the Dang we saw in Puerto Rico would be playing a lot of minutes, but he's not the player we had in Puerto Rico right now.
How do you get paint touches if they're going to choke the paint like they try to?
It's tough to do. That's why we scored 13 points down in Virginia last year. It's a little easier now with the way the game's called than it was, because everybody was fouling back then, and now you can't do it anymore.
I think Kenny's notes said you're pretty successful in the white suit. Have you decided what you'll wear tomorrow?
What does it say? What our record is? I wasn't playing.
7? I think it was 7.
Before ranked teams.
Then I'll definitely get a white suit somewhere. My other one's a little outdated with the pleats. I'll definitely get one. Anybody else? Thank you.